everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, I just got done reading another Brandon Sanderson book, and I just had to get on here and talk about it. So, you're probably wondering, well, Michelle, what Brandon Sanderson book have you read? Because, I've read the Mistborn series, I've read some of the novellas, I've read Elantris, and I've read, The Way of Kings. So the next one that I needed to read before I could move on with Brandon Sanderson's works, based on a reading list that I found, on like the best way to immerse yourself in the Cosmere, was Warbreaker. And I have to tell you, this was just absolutely amazing. The imagination that Brandon Sanderson has is insane. And the magic system in this is crazy. I've never seen a magic system like this ever before. Brandon Sanderson is just so unique in all of his fantasy worlds. It's amazing. And I would really like to have somebody dissect his brain many years from now and see how he came up with any of this stuff. Because I hope he lives for a very long time, because we need more Brandon Sanderson stories. This was phenomenal. I loved every character. My favorite character was probably Vasher. I wish we would have gotten more POVs from him. I know mainly it was Vivina, Ciri, and Lightsong. And Lightsong is a god. He's a returned in this book. They call people who die and they come back to life, they call them returns. And so they, in this one religion, they're considered gods. So I'm not going to get into all the complexities of the story, just because it is super complex. But it's just absolutely amazing. So you've got these two princesses, and they're from a, country called Idris. Well, I guess there was a 20-year, there was a treaty, and in 20 years, the king of Idris would need to send his daughter to be the god king's wife. So Vivina, who is the eldest daughter, was tasked with this her whole life. She trained for it, she was ready to go. But then as the 20-year mark came to be, her dad decided, I'm going to send the youngest instead, who had no training. And she was kind of like a laissez-faire. She did what she wanted. She didn't really listen to her tutor. She was kind of unimportant, where Vivina was important. Well, now all of a sudden, their roles switch. Vivina, it feels like she's unimportant, and Ciri is now important, and she's like, well, I wasn't trained for this. I don't know what I'm doing. What? You're sending me into a lion's den. But Ciri's resilient, and through the story, she grows into herself, and it's a phenomenal growth story, in my opinion, from where Ciri started to where she ended. And the same thing with Vivina. Vivina learned who she actually is, and that was through coming off all high and mighty because she's a princess, because she knows this, she knows that. Coming to Hollindren, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's how I pronounced it when reading it, Hollindren. And, getting with this group and trying to save her sister, but, then comes to find that those people that she thought were good and were working for her actually were working for somebody else. And she goes through a couple hard weeks, and her religion, she has to like think about that with things that are going on while she's in the city trying to figure out how to save her sister. And then Lightsong, who is the god that we read from, he's trying to figure out who he is, because he's been a return for 5 years. He's this lazy, do this, do that, but all the other gods are like, well, you're the best of us. You go through every picture, you listen to every person, but yet you come off like you, like with everything else, like you don't care. So as the story goes on, we learn about Lightsong, and it comes to light in the end, and it's just the progression of these characters were amazing. Now Vasher, the little bit of POVs that we get to see, it's not a progression for him. He's more trying to redeem himself, is what we come to find. And we find out at the end why. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review this time, because I really think the important thing is you dive into this and you read it and you find out the twists and the turns and all of that stuff on your own, because oh my goodness, I just, at some of these like plot points and the reveals were just mind-blowing. Now, the magic system in this is called biochromatic? Yes, biochromatic magic. So basically they deal with breaths. Everybody is born with a breath, but you can give breaths to people. You can buy breaths, or you can sell your breath or breaths depending on what you have. And these breaths, depending on how many you have, you can use them to awaken things. You can make a cloak protect you. You can make a rope grab things, or make it climb. And there's other like heightenings. So it has this arcanum in the back that explains the magic system to you. So there's 10 heightenings, and it explains all the effects of which heightening you get to. And like, so like for example, if you had 2,000 breaths, then you reach the 5th heightening and you get agelessness, perfect life sense, perfect color recognition, perfect pitch, and aura recognition. And then there's, you know, so much more, and it's insane. And it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to read it. Like, this magic system, it's so unique, but at the same time it's a hard magic system, but it's, I don't know, it's not a soft magic system in my opinion. It's got rules that you have to follow, and there's things that you have to do, but the sayings that you use to give your breath away, to awaken things, is, you have to be very precise, but not too precise and too wordy. And then when you give the breath away, color goes away from, say, a piece of rope, piece of cloth, something. It's just amazing what he does. And the best thing is, in my opinion, is his writing is so easy to read. It flows so nicely. So you could be reading for 2 hours, but you don't know it because you flow straight through the story. There's not a whole lot of wordplay to where you're not going to understand what's going on. And I think that's another reason why I really like Brandon Sanderson's writing. He says what he wants, he gets to the point, but he also uses the vocabulary, the metaphors, and the analogies when needed. The entire story is not in analogy or metaphor form. So for me, I really like that. I know a lot of people really like whimsical, flowing, mysterious, magical writing. I like that sometimes, but you have to do it well. You can't just half-ass that writing, because people are going to read your story and they're going to be like, what? Or this. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. And I'll just tell you this, you don't know. I was trying to figure out why he called this Warbreaker. You don't find out until the end. At the end, I was like, well, dang, that's why it's called a Warbreaker. So, he's very good. Brandon Sanderson is probably one of the best fantasy writers of all time, my opinion. And he's still got plenty of stories in his head. And I cannot wait for more of them to come out and for me to dive in and just devour all of his Cosmere works. Just all of them. And at some point, I'll probably read, some of his non-Cosmere works. But right now, I'm focused on the Cosmere because, dang, I just love being in that world. So, if you've read this book, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you thought about it. Obviously, if you watched my video, you know that I absolutely love this book. But let me know what other Brandon Sanderson works you've also read in the comments, and I would greatly appreciate that. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and be good people.
When you feel